On-field changes were the topic of discussion at the table. We did make a proposal early on about a joint process with respect to on-field changes. We did not make any specific rule change proposals. We are in the process of still evaluating changes. And frankly, based on the discussions at the table, we saw it as another contentious issue and tried to put it to one side in an effort to get to an agreement on the theory that we could deal with it midterm of the next agreement.
Some experimental rules being tested out at the Arizona Fall League. The base is increasing from 15 inches square to 18 inches square. A minimum of 4 infielders positioned on the dirt. At least 2 players on either side of second base, obviously against the shift. Different pitch timers based on a game situation. So something of a pitch clock, an automatic strike zone, and PitchCom pitcher-catcher communication device. Basically just speed things up. Rather than those mound meetings, they can just kind of communicate to each other and get on the same page. There's been a lot of conversation with this stuff, Tom. You've written extensively about it for SI. But of these rules, which one do you think has the best chance of actually being implemented next season?
I hope it's the pitch timer, as they call it now. I thought it was a pitch clock, but I get it. Anything that moves the game along at a better pace. To me, that is the greatest threat to the long-term future of this game, or I'll say popularity of the game, is making the game go at a faster pace. It's not the economic system. I realize that's clearly a very important point to the players, but to a fan watching baseball, the future of baseball should look like the Arizona Fall League, where the time in between pitches is much shorter. In other words, you could give me the same game we have today. I don't care about shifts, but if the ball is not in play that much because of strikeouts and 3 true outcomes, I think it's still a much better product if that game is played in 2 hours and 40 minutes instead of 3 hours. Doesn't sound like much, but it is. It's the perception of pace and actually pace itself. So it's disappointing to hear that that has not even been an issue here, because that apparently is introducing another contentious element. And I think it's too important of an issue to keep kicking down the road. Eventually, both sides have to really attack that issue. It's so important.
And you're right. It's not just nostalgia. I went back during COVID. I rewatched the Sid Bream game, the Pirates-Braves, one of the great baseball games ever. You and Bob Costas explaining it. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, that's no joke. You can have a postseason game done in a brisk manner that is taut and tense and still be electrifying for all. So we'll see if that gets rectified at some point. Let's rejoin Jon Morosi. John, how much have changes such as expanded playoffs, universal DH, how much have they been a part of the conversations?
Both elements have been part of those conversations, Adnan, and I believe that ultimately whenever this agreement comes into play, we will see both of those parts of it, the universal DH, the expanded playoffs. There is some difference of opinion right now on exactly how many teams would be in those expanded playoffs. Obviously, MLB's proposal going back a while now, the concept has been there to have 7 teams in each league making it. I think that certainly is a very fair way to get more teams involved. And again, we talked earlier, incentivize spending, incentivize more teams going for it at the trade deadline during the offseason as well. Also, the DH situation. More teams that want a DH, that's going to continue to rise that salary up. Of course, DHs typically have been very well paid. And one clue, Adnan, we had in recent weeks, a lot of National League teams were pursuing the likes of Nelson Cruz in anticipation of having the DH in 2022 and beyond.
Well, I know you're a guy who loves baseball at all levels, John. So what effect will the lockout have on minor league players?
You know, Adnan, it's a very interesting question. I love what Tom was talking about the Arizona Fall League and the brand of baseball played there. Minor league players are still able to continue working out at team facilities, have contact with team officials. In fact, I was told yesterday by an official of one team that they have some camps scheduled coming up here this month even with their minor league players to get some instruction, some added instruction there. So again, the development can still continue at that level. There are also some dynamics there to be worked through about players, minor league players who are now playing winter ball. Of course, that's one more part of the game at this time of year. But again, the key thing is those minor league players, minor league spring training, even the minor league share of the winter meetings will continue next week as scheduled in Orlando. So some aspects of the business of baseball will continue, but of course the major league transaction freeze is in effect now, and we have to wait and see when that will be lifted at the time of a new agreement for baseball moving forward.
Jon Morosi doing the heavy lifting. The good news is plenty of time now to watch your beloved Detroit Red Wings. I will see you soon on NHL Network.